Mary Bodner is. She's gone. You guys should be good.
I have a red light on. Oh, just turned green. Okay.
What do I hate this?
All right. We ready? Okay. Call the meeting to order. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Hi. You feel so far away. Hello.
I'll be closer.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm good.
You can make motions under somebody else's name tag.
There we go.
All right. So we'll just take a quick roll call. I'm here. Stephanie.
Here.
Another new last name, Stephanie Forbes. Gretchen and Bonnie are not yet with us. Gina. Randy B.
Here.
Jessica.
Here.
Jennifer.
Present.
Jay.
Present.
And we have a new ex officio, Joe Borton.
We had a previously scheduled meeting, so he couldn't make it to this one, but hopefully we'll catch him in November.
Okay. And just a quick synopsis for the newer commission members. They switch up the ex officio positions kind of between different departments with the city council. So we've had Genesis for a couple of years, and it's been fantastic, and now we're going to have Joe. So it'll be fun. So I would like to thank Genesis for her time spent with us too while we're talking about that. Just let the record reflect that we've loved having her, and she's brought a lot to us, and we will miss her. So we're excited to have Joe. Now, if there's nothing to be brought up about this very busy agenda, Hillary, do you have anything?
I have no additions to this lengthy agenda.
Neither do I. Anyone else? If not, we would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so next we move on to the approval of the minutes, which, if there's not anything to be brought out for clarification, we will consider a motion.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Second.
Who wants to own it?
I'll second it.
Randy B. Randy B on a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business. And I saw I don't have I loved the online that we had all those, the item pages. Can we have that up here so that I can remember who is going to manage each? Yeah, I really liked that.
So
Thank
it's
you,
listed
Hillary.
on your agenda. Brian McClure is listed right there on your agenda. You're talking about this.
Yes, I'm talking about you'd given us all the pages of each item. That was new this time.
So all I
liked
do
it.
is click it, and then it pulls up the item.
Yay, that's so cool. I love it. Okay, so we are going to move right on then to new business. We have an update. As we all know, the city's working on a comprehensive plan, and they're really going through a lot of steps. And so this is an update from a project update from Brian. Thanks for being here.
I will still be really brief, though. So,
That's great.
I'm a comprehensive planner with the City of Meridian, and we are going through a comprehensive plan update. It's a 1.5 year long process. This isn't necessarily the best time for us to be talking to you about it right now because of where we are in the phase. I'm sorry, but I can still ask you to be involved and have you doing some research and planning for some of the more meaty parts later on. So, what is it? Meridian's comprehensive plan is our vision for the future. It's a citywide plan. It includes text, policies, and a future land use map. The future land use map, if you're curious, is what it looks like a zoning map, but what it is when you annex into the city, it tells you what sort of zoning you can request. So with all the development we have here, it's really important. Why do we plan? The simple answer is because we have to. The state requires us to have a comprehensive plan. It is a function of police powers. You can see an example of police powers on the screen there. But we also plan because we want to. We want what we do to reflect the will of the citizens. You guys pay the taxes. You guys participate in events. You guys are what make the community. And so it's important that that plan represent what the community wants. The current plan was adopted in 2002. We were a much different city in 2002. We were less than half the size we are now. If you have not seen a recent population estimate as of January, we were 106,000 people. The last update we did was in 2011. That was just an update. We essentially split the plan into two different documents. One's forward thinking and one's looking backward. It was just too big, and that helped streamline things. But even in 2011, we had 30,000 less people. So if you think about who was here then and how many less people we had, most of the people living in Meridian today haven't had a meaningful opportunity to participate in that plan. So the new plan, why are we working on a new plan? City Council told us to, which is always a good reason. Everyone's seen the growth we have. There's a lot of pressure from all directions occurring. People are wondering what's going on. They haven't been involved in the plan. They don't know what it is. So we started this earlier this year. The first two phases were largely public involvement. We just finished up the second phase. The first phase was focused on values. We asked people what they valued. The second phase was vision. We took their values. We created some vision statements that we thought reflected those values, and then we asked people, residents, stakeholders, businesses, what they thought of those. Largely seemed to be pretty good. We're wrapping that up right now. We'll have a summary on the website soon. We are also, at the same time, moving forward with analysis. So phase 3 is called choices. We're looking at our land use, transportation, market. We're having all those things analyzed and researched and discussed. And we're going to see what we can take from the vision statements and what we can see from opportunities that people have told us about and how we can integrate those into the plan. And then we'll take those to the community in the form of choices, so land use choices, transportation choices, and get their input, see what they want, and then move forward with an adopted plan, which is called the plan. That's phase 4. That is largely the normal public hearing process, which is typically 3 to 4 months. Planning files an application just like anyone else does. It goes before planning and zoning, and then it goes before the city commission. So again, we're in phase 3. Real quick, this is kind of what we've had so far in terms of participation. We've had a lot of website engagement. Almost 2,000 people have provided comments, opinions, some sort of thought on the website. A lot of engagement on social media. Our mayor's office has done a fantastic job engaging people on Nextdoor, on Facebook, and on Instagram. We've also talked to a lot of people, so you can see about 1,300 people there between phase 1 and 2 that we've just talked to verbally at parks, at concerts on Broadway, at town halls, on telephone town halls, just all sorts of stuff. We've been really busy talking to people. And then we've also had some 25 in-person kind of outreach opportunities to movers and shakers in the Meridian. People like Sensi and Blue Cross and St. Luke's and a lot of employment and jobs. So we've asked them what they thought, what they've been hearing. So I'm here today to ask you to be involved. Again, I apologize. There's not a lot to do right now because we just finished up a major public involvement process. But in the next couple of months here, we'll have a lot of information go out. We'll have a lot of choices. We'll have some policy reviews, discussions, and we're going to want you guys to participate on that. I don't just say that. Meridian Arts Commission currently has a number of policy statements in the existing current adopted comprehensive plan. And we want to know whether you like those, whether you want to keep those, whether you need new ones. And we'd also like you to consider the public feedback we've had so far. So what can you guys do to work towards some of those things? Not that you can't influence other ways as well, but we want the new plan to reflect what we're hearing as well. You can see on the screen there, that's an example of a policy table. I mentioned the comprehensive plan is text, policies, and a future land use map. Currently, we have about 500 policies, a lot, that direct staff time, direct development applications, and they're really important. So I've given, you should all have handouts. Those reflect the current policy statements in the current adopted comprehensive plan that the Arts Commission is responsible for. There is some overlap with the strategic plan. It gets confusing sometimes, I'm sorry. I can't help that though. But know that if you can do something or inflect something or impart something that is development driven, there's a lot of control to help do that through the comprehensive plan. So an example would be right now we allow art to count as amenity with development. That's a UDC control, but we can influence that with the comprehensive plan. We can do more, for example. I don't know whether you should, but it's a good question to ask yourself. Or if there are other opportunities to improve awareness of the arts. The comprehensive plan is a good place to do that. And for this commission, it's really through the policy statements. So be thinking about those and be asking yourself whether you like the current ones or whether you need some new ones. Lastly, sign up on the website. As I said, we're kind of in a lull period right now, but if you sign up, you'll know as soon as we upload the summary from Phase 2 outreach, you'll know as soon as we start asking choices, there'll be survey questions that you can answer to. We would love to have people starting conversations and encourage other people to consider things that are important, such as awareness of the arts. So with that, I would stand for any questions, or if you have any requests of me.
I have a quick question. Are there ways that they can go onto the comprehensive plan website and see some of the comments that people have already made? Is that map still live, for example?
Yeah, good question. So the current website, meridiancomplan.com, there's a couple of tools on there that are still live. I don't know if we'll keep them alive during Phase 3, but you can still see them right now. One is a comment wall where they've just kind of thrown ideas at us that they want to see, generally speaking. Not all of them are even appropriate for the comp plan, but we can at least kind of understand what they're thinking about, what they like. There's also a map which kind of highlights areas of the city that are opportunities or issues for them that we can look at. The third one, which is a little less fun but probably more important, are the summaries from the public involvement. So the Phase 1 vision value summary is on the website right now. That's verbatim comments from everything we heard, and also just kind of summaries if you don't want to read through them all. Phase 2, if you go up a little bit to what we've heard.
Oh, okay.
So on the right side there's an outreach summary from Phase 1. In the next couple of weeks here, we'll have an outreach for Phase 2. We reviewed that with our steering committee last night, and we're going to give it to council next week. And then after that, we'll upload it. So along with the vision document. So the vision document is just kind of a high-level summary of everything and what the community wants, and then we use that to kind of shape what we do moving forward. So, but those aren't there quite yet. But yes, you can review what other people have said and do that through several different ways. Is that?
Map's still active. Sorry. And that map's still active too. So if they want, would you still accept input from, or was it my ideas or whatever, your ideas?
Yes. So we will still accept input. The exception there is the actual survey. That the survey, Phase 2 survey, is closed now. But you can still put ideas on the wall or pin locations to the map.
I'm just trying to show you the two ways. So there's that your ideas place and then the map.
Okay.
We've had a lot of comments on the map that it doesn't have a new aerial and it doesn't have the newest roads. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm sorry. We actually have newer information. We are aware of those roads, but we can't put them on this tool because we don't control it. So get that out of the way.
Okay. That was my first comment.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think it's, I thought it was really interesting, the concerts on Broadway, because there was a couple of times when you guys set up out there, and it was interesting to see some of the sticky, the little dots where they were putting them is that what you call the map?
That was one of the surveys.
The surveys,
that was the
it was very
in-person version of
interesting.
it. The web survey was a little bit more simple, but it had the same questions. But yeah, so for those that don't know, we took the second survey. We took 5 boards with a big picture, a vision theme, and then vision statements below it, and we asked people to prioritize which ones they wanted the most. People don't like paying more taxes, and you can't do everything. So essentially, it's what's most important to you, and they put dots by the ones that were most important to them.
Mm-hmm. And I thought there was, did you feel like there was good community engagement on that? I mean, I was able to really watch and see how many people went up.
We talked to hundreds and hundreds of people. I think it was like 1,300 people just on those boards. So lots of talking.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I feel like I don't have any relevant questions right now. For one thing, because we don't have a lot of action items other than engaging in this. And so thank you for giving us a rundown on how we can go and look at what the community's been saying. And I think we all should put some time aside to do that so that we can, do what we can to help and support and be aware of what the community wants, as well as add to, you know, bring our skills to bear and add what we think can help the process. So I know I'm going to dedicate some time to this. And I knew it was going on, but having it put down in this concise and having her run through the things on the computers is helpful. Thank you.
If I may too,
Yeah.
it's not just, you're all stakeholders, so you're not just on the Meridian Arts Commission either. You either work here, live here, or spend time here. You're one of those three, and maybe multiple of them. And everyone has opinions on a lot of things around here, including growth and development. So if you wanted your opinion to be heard, this is this goes directly to council, and council is responsible for implementing it. So this is an opportunity, and they have told us to do this. So if you don't feel like your voice has been heard on some of those other topics, this really is their direction and their request to the public to help them do that better. So I'd encourage you all on a personal level as well to spend time looking through it.
Okay. Good, and that clears up my other question as far as our responses to the. So we do respond. We can look at it from a holistic perspective of how the commission will help, but as individuals, we should be weighing in as well. There's no conflict of interest. We can feel free to weigh in as individuals that live in the community. That's what you're
definitely
saying.
you can all do the surveys that come out. The policy statements before you right now. Again, that's a little early, but please be thinking about it, and I will definitely let everyone know when it's the time to revise those or look at those, or when there's more choices that come out. Hillary stays very involved and knowledgeable in that process as well. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for all your work too. That's a ton of work since June. All right, and I'm sorry, Commissioners, I didn't ask if there were any other questions for Brian. I'm sorry, that's my mistake. Jennifer.
I was just wondering if anyone volunteered any wishes for any art forms in any of your communication, or if it was just strictly what you were asking.
I'm gonna answer that in a roundabout way. So generally, depending on the venue, we heard different things of different interest to people. So when we were at Chamber of Commerce, we heard certain things more popular. When we were at Parks, we heard certain things being more popular. By far and large, so far, the biggest place we've been able to interact with people has been at Parks, and those have been the highest priority ones. We have heard some art and cultural type things, and those have been some of the vision statements, but we haven't heard as much support for that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, with that bubble bursting, no, just kidding. No, we get it. We get it. It's like my house backs up to a city park, and I love it. I love seeing all the engagement there. It's busy all the time. So parks are fantastic. Yes.
Madam Chair,
Jennifer.
sorry. Do you see, after sifting through all this massive amount of data, if there is a need for art where it's not, where we could focus more directly towards specific needs?
That's a very good question.
Sorry.
So I guess I would say through the comments, no. We've gotten a lot of those for things like you need to build a bridge or this road needs to be widened. I don't think people think of amenities in that same way, except for dog parks. People think about dog parks that way. We have had comments to that effect. No, I think some of that is more likely if there's a desire and direction and an ability to come out through just analysis of where art currently is and where people spend time. So I haven't thought about that before now, but maybe that would be a good exercise just to see where art is closest to the highest number of people and where it's not. That's something that could probably be done with it if someone helped me.
Yeah, that's such an interesting question, and I think it's almost an existential question, actually, in some ways.
Well, I know that in some places they're noted for their beautiful bridges, or in some places they're noted for this. And what instigates something creating a mark like that? What could Meridian do to create a thing?
An image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I think our art in the parks is kind of something that to me seems unique. The fact that each time we put in a park or trailhead, that we think about what art could go into that. That's part of of what we're doing right now with maps. I think that's really unique. Having art in the parks is something that I think is kind of defined, is starting to feel to me like it defines Meridian a little bit. Because usually when you think of parks, you think of playground equipment, you think of baseball fields, you think, should we put in a tennis park, should we put in a swimming pool? And one of the things that's initiated immediately when they start thinking about a new park is, what art are we going to put into that park? And I think that's really cool. I think it's unique. So maybe that's, I don't know, something. But it seems like it's naturally developing too. But I love that. What do you think of that as does that answer is that kind of in the?
Yeah, I just wanted to start the conversation, and then as I'm learning this role, to see how that we can create a more fluid dialogue between what you do and what we can do to enhance what you do. So I'm sorry I put you on the spot.
No. It's a really good question, and I think what you just said was a natural extension of what Meridian is and what Meridian likes. Our parks are, in every survey we've done in the last 10 years, shows up really high. And since we don't build bridges and we don't build roads, where you see a lot of those other kind of like just elements that everyone recognizes and appreciates, I think parks is a natural place for that to occur because we do build those.
Yes. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Thanks for your time. Okay. All right. So everybody get in there, look at the website, see what matters to you for Meridian as an individual, and think forward about when we're doing these policy statements. Look at that handout that I gave to you. See if what you think here is relevant and working, or if it needs changing, or if we are missing some things that we could work more towards. So, all right, very good. Let's move on then to new business item B, the NowPack review. Do you want to start on that, Jennifer? Yay.
Absolutely.
We got to go, and it was just fantastic, so interesting.
Very revitalizing as artists and administrators, and I highly recommend that everyone have this opportunity if you can fit it into your schedule. We met so many experts in their particular fields, and then they talked passionately about what they were doing and had done and wanted to do in the future. And then everyone had the opportunity to do Q&As and figure out, how does this work? How did you make this happen? And how can we do this in our community? So it was very informative and knowledge-based, and it's just a great experience.
It was, and it was really energized, but it was also very, very informative. And people came from some of them were from arts commissions, others were on boards, there were artists. We had several artists there that have been accepted through, RFQs or, those kinds of city processes. What you're looking at right now is Melissa, what's her last name? Do you remember her last name? She's what you're looking at here was these tiles. She puts in large tile installations, and this was at the library there, and you can see up above too. Every single piece here was done by a member of the community. You see that little signature? That's the person who did that piece. VB is the person who did that piece. She gives them a palette to work with. Then she runs seminars, outreach in the community, and so all of these medallions that are the tiles that you see were done by actual members in the community. Then she adds to it, comes up with once she has everybody's pieces, comes up with the design and puts the community's art on display. It's absolutely a beautiful process. And so we got to see not only, there it is. It was at the book, yeah. And so several people came up while we were standing there listening to Melissa explain the process, and they were finding their tiles in the design and looking at their tiles. So this was one of the wonderful things that we got to look at. We had tours of, this was a brand new art installation. They're going to be doing a mural. This is a privately owned apartment building. And it's been, the city is going to be putting a mural in here. So they had the grand opening for that while we were there. That's what it will look like in its final rendition. And it was interesting because a couple of the people that inhabit the apartments came down and mixed with the grand opening, and we're talking about how excited they were to have this artwork being put on their building. And so they're just doing a lot of interesting things in Moscow right now as far as the arts. We took a tour of the Kenworthy, which is their live performing arts space downtown. That was just an individual thing that Jennifer and I decided to do. And we took a bus trip to the university in Pullman, and they took us around and showed us all their campus art. So it was just an amazing and inspiring group of people, but also very, very informative, and gave us it made us feel really good about some of the things we're doing, and gave us ideas about, how we could take some of the ideas. There were 3 people there from the Idaho Commission on the Arts that were very, very, very helpful in giving us ideas about how the community could work there. It was fun to see, because I know some of the commissioners, it was fun to see everybody out of their normal environment just in a big group. And so, yeah, I just thought it was amazing, and I thank the city council and for us to, to be able to have a budget that allows us to go out and do some of these development trips. So, yeah.
And many of the people we met were all willing to share their information and their research. So if we have specific things we want to do, we now have many contacts that did similar things, and we can ask them for their data. So it was really wonderful that way, networking.
Which is a great tool. I mean, not having to reinvent the wheel and being able to take the data that they already have and say, oh, okay, that works really well there. What are the differences in the Meridian community, and how can we adapt that without having to start from the beginning and make, and some of them shared the mistakes they made too, which is invaluable because that allows you to avoid those mistakes. And they were so willing, yeah, we did this, but it didn't work, and this is what we ended up doing. I'm like, thank you, because it's just great. So thanks for letting us go. Yeah. It was fantastic.
Leslie said she wanted all 9 of us there, so.
I did. It would have been so great, but.
If it gets closer again, we can send more people. I think it was 2015 that we had, it was like 4 or 5 of you were able to go when it was in Boise. So if it gets a little closer, Moscow's not bad, but kind of hard to, unless we rented a bus. Kind of fun.
It was fun. There were people there from Seattle and Portland and Eugene and, all of our companion states as well.
I wanted to point out to you guys, we got an email about this after the conference, but you can go to the Idaho Commission on the Arts website, and then I just searched NowPack, and it came up with only one thing, which was this, and then they attached all of they had the program there, they had video from that Melissa Cole, the artist from the public library, and then it looks like they have some other panelists, reference materials on here. And then also Jennifer sent me her notes, so we've got those on file too and can reference, or if you guys have something where you think we could use a resource, just reach out to Leslie or Jennifer and they can see if they met someone that could connect you or make our approach easier as we try new things.
Absolutely. Yay. So, okay, are there any questions, comments? If not, thanks for pointing out that spot on the website. We will move on to C, the potential film screening partnership with the Meridian Library District. And this is, go ahead, Helen. Yes.
So I had added this to the agenda because I'd met with local filmmaker Sonia Rosario about partnering with the Meridian Library District, who was planning on screening one of her films. I think since then, actually, she is going to have to rearrange her schedule, so she won't be able to show the film at the same time. I just saw that yesterday. And she and I are rescheduling our meeting that we had scheduled for tomorrow originally. So I guess it's still something that we can talk about. if you guys are interested in potentially partnering with the library district, if they do a film screening, whether it's for Sonia Rosario or for other artists. It's not something that's currently outlined as something in your budget line items, but it could probably just fit under other expenses if it's something like $50 to help support food and drinks, so that it's something that the library district doesn't have to do. So if there's partnerships that come up like this, particularly with the library district or another agency that's co-hosting something, or that would be willing to let us co-host with them, and they're already doing most of the work, if you guys want to be a presence there, I'll try to bring it up as an option for you, so you could decide whether or not you want to at least attend, or if you want to somehow be involved. Like I said, I don't think this is happening right now anytime soon.
Are they
so
rescheduling
I can bring it
or
up.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I'll bring it up when it becomes relevant again.
And I think that this is particularly relevant to us because part of the reason we've been going down this road is because of the dismal, the epic fail of our video competition for Art Week this year. It just didn't seem to get any traction. So the idea had been, wow, my pen's falling apart. The idea had been that Sonia Rosario would possibly come on as an artist in residence to work to develop that for next year. So this would seem like a very, very relevant thing for us to do. We'd all be able to meet Sonia and see some of her work before we go down that road of having her become the resident artist to develop the video, the student video portion of Art Week. So yeah, I'm disappointed that they have to reschedule it, but what is there any input from the other commissioners on your interest in partnering with the library at that for the refreshments and snacks? It's a pretty small thing.
Madam Chair, I really like the idea of adding some film aspects to what we do. I mean, Boise has a lot of it between the flicks and then GEM Center for the Arts, and there are a lot of opportunities in Boise, but there's not a lot of that in Meridian at all, not any formalized. And so I think even if we didn't, I think it's a great idea to have Sonia as an artist in residence, but even if we didn't do that, just to have more film events that are piquing people's interest and sort of getting it on their radar, that might be, I think it's an area that we don't really do a lot here that I've seen, and I think it could really add a lot to the arts community in Meridian.
Mm-hmm. And I love the idea of the student video shorts, you know, and giving them the tools to feel successful with a mentor artist in their field. Yes, Hillary?
I was just.
Oh, thought you were preparing to say something. Comments? Any more comments, questions? Okay, so we don't, Jennifer, did you?
Yep, just thinking.
So this would be put on then, so for an action item to decide this, we could state our interest now and take a vote later when it gets rescheduled. So, yeah, all right. Thank you. And so moving on to D, the Public Arts Scavenger Hunt. I think this sounds fun. Jessica.
Yeah. So this was an idea that kind of popped into my head when I was looking through the strategic plan materials, and it's something that I haven't necessarily seen in the Treasure Valley, but I think it's happened in other places. The idea to maybe partner with the historic preservation folks as well. So we have a walking tour. I mean, there's the board out front, and people can, I don't know how many people do that, but there's the opportunity to do a historic walking tour. And we have sort of a virtual arts walking tour online on the website. And so we could sort of have a social media scavenger hunt, either separate or associated with Meridian Art Week, where we could post either hints or clues, or just say outright things that we're looking for, and create a hashtag for it, and have people post their pictures on their social media account with the hashtags, and either have a participation award for everyone who completed the whole list of clues, or a special prize for the first person to complete it, or have people organize in groups. I did it wasn't really social media, but a bigger sort of scavenger hunt in Washington, D.C. years ago when I lived there, and people showed up in groups, and it was there was an award at the end. So obviously it would be smaller scale here, but just to get people more aware of the things that we do have in Meridian, get them thinking about art as we're starting to increase the visibility of arts in Meridian, and planning for more public art that we're going to be installing in the next few years, just to get people excited about that, and also to get people engaged in the historic aspects of the city. And we're growing so much, and people who are newcomers may not have a lot of idea about the identity of Meridian or what it used to be. So I thought that would be a fun way to get folks involved, and ideally do it when the weather is nice. So either spring, summer, or with Art Week, when we usually have good weather for that, and where people are already talking about art in the community anyway. So
I think it's a really interesting thought, because Art Week has become, it kind of has a little bit of traction now. I think maybe starting it in Art Week, and if it takes off and becomes bigger, moving it away from, making a different time. But I think that having this as an add-on to Art Week, when people are already there, is a great idea. And I have to share with you, after our agenda meeting with the mayor, we were walking out. You mentioned that the walking tour that's posted out in front of there's a little group of children approaching that, and they all were around with their teacher, and I kind of listening to those little voices always kind of capture your ear. And this one little guy goes, "All right, everybody, let's use our mapping skills." And I thought, what a great teacher, because she's using it not only as something, I know, I was just like, oh, can I just go? But I think that it also has a potential for those types of things for teachers. Just as a general thing, we could maybe make it also available to them online, so that when they have those teaching opportunities, like they are teaching mapping skills, or they're teaching something, it could be a tool for them to use as a medium that would include art and history, but that would be about teaching mapping or teaching another pedagogy. So maybe introducing it in Art Week, but then making it available online in some format, so that teachers could use it as part of their field trip curriculum. That'd be fun.
yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's just, thank you for bringing that. But I don't know. How do you feel about starting it with Art Week and then expanding it from?
I think that's a great way to get people's attention, and especially when people are putting out pieces of art for other people to find, they can, it's another reason to get them out and about, and looking at what is, I think that those pieces, the art drop, I think, is just in the downtown area. Is that right? So there's not a ton of art in the downtown area right now, but just, like I said, another reason to get people paying attention to, especially because so much of Meridian tends to be not pedestrian friendly, and so people are driving and not noticing what is, if you're stopped at a stoplight, you see the traffic boxes, but you don't necessarily see everything as you're driving past it or noticing it. So a good way to get people noticing their community as well, and being more aware of it.
And it can also remind people that even though we do seem like a big, the freeway goes right through, and it's kind of, there's a lot of non-walkable communities, there are really beautiful walkable areas in the village. Took that as a marketing, that's kind of the deal. But downtown Meridian is walkable, and it's naturally occurring. And so there's the people that live in the houses that are close, it's kind of a unique little area, in the middle of a growing city, to have this beautiful little walkable space, and it would remind people that the village is awesome and walkable and we love it, but this is here too, and this is,
Right.
you know, I can walk to go get dinner, to do this, there's art, there's different things going on downtown. So, yeah, I love the word walkable. But thank you so much. Are there any other, yes, Hillary?
I'm just going to ask logistically, does the Public Art Committee want to talk about that a little bit first? And then we'd maybe, as you guys have more of a plan, or at least things to kind of feature, then we talk to or include somehow the Events and Outreach Committee so that we can make sure everyone's involved? Or do you want it to just be in Events and Outreach? How do you want this to be discussed and approached? Yes, moving forward.
From the committee perspective.
Yeah, we can certainly talk about it as the committee. We can put it on our agenda for one of our upcoming meetings. Yeah.
And then maybe down the road, have someone from the arts, you know, then you could invite them to your meeting and discuss how that would articulate. We're still so new with these committees, but I'm loving it this is just an example of how well those are going to work. So why don't we go ahead and have you meet, and then when you're ready, invite someone from events, discuss that, and then when you kind of have it more fleshed out, and decide also, for sure, if you think that Art Week is the spot, if that's, you know, where we should let it germinate, and then, you know, how we can expand it from there.
Yeah, I do like the idea of starting it with Art Week. I think that's a really good place to start it because people are already kind of paying attention to that. But I also like the idea of in future years as the art community grows even more in Meridian, to kind of spread that love out throughout the year and get people thinking about art at other times of year as well. Because, and again, not just art, but also the historic aspects of the city. And thinking about that at other times of the year, not just at Art Week.
Great. Good, thank you. All right, any other questions? All right, cool. Well, moving on to then the Traffic Box Art sponsorships. Hillary.
We got a new Traffic Box vinyl vendor. I think it was actually in August, and it somehow escaped me to have you guys update your Traffic Box Art sponsorship form. Our new vendor charges less for the installation or for the overall wrap, so you guys could reduce your sponsorship amount from $950 down to as low as $824. And that's $524 is the cost of the wrap, and then $300 for the artist stipend. So this is what your form looks like, and I just updated your where it says $824. I had actually had I've actually had 2 calls about how to sponsor Traffic Box wraps, so this is more pressing than I realized. And I'm sure people would like to sponsor for less if they can. So I'm looking for the Arts Commission's input and potentially approval on reducing the sponsorship amount to $824.
Well, I just can't say how happy it makes me to have an action item that reduces our expenses and makes it more accessible to, so. Questions, comments? If there are none, then we would entertain a motion to adjust that from $900 to $824 for a sponsorship.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjust the Traffic Box Community Art Project sponsorship form to show that the sponsorship amount will now be $824 as a reduction.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Hillary. Now we are moving back. Where are we? Reception tablecloth wash and iron expense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would like the Arts Commission to consider paying $15 a month, just about, to have the reception tablecloth washed at a local cleaner and then also ironed at a local cleaner. I've been doing that every month, and it's getting kind of old. I've got a husband that's tired of me doing it. So it's $15 a month from On the Spot Cleaners. The police department already has an account there, so we can just add on to their account. And I think I put in here, I would recommend a not to exceed for $250, just in case there's ever times we need to use 2 tablecloths for one show. That would cover the whole year.
Good. Well, we just saved some money, so.
Yeah.
Did you spend some? No, that's, can I just say for the record, thanks to Hillary Blackstone for, none of us even knew that she was doing this. Mm-hmm. It just seemed like the tablecloth was magic. And of course, we know magic. We think it's real, but it's probably not. So thank you, Hillary. And are there any questions? And if not, we would entertain a motion for the not to exceed for $250.
Madam Chair, I move that we save Hillary some time and effort and approve a not to exceed of $250 to have the reception tablecloths laundered and ironed at a separate location.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Good, you're welcome, Hillary's husband. Okay, that's awesome. Let's go then to the Initial Point Gallery selection, which is the 2 of us. And yeah, go ahead, Hillary.
I can go. So Bonnie's traveling, but essentially when we're looking at all of the applications that we received, there are less than the openings that we have in the gallery. So this year we opened up the call to artists to include quarter gallery applications, and we did receive quite a few quarter gallery applications. So great job, but also we have more spaces to fill. So Bonnie had reached out to Leslie to see if she could use the scores included from the online juried shows, and then reach out through her artist network and find additional artists to invite to fill the remaining space. So I guess we'd be looking for a motion to authorize Bonnie to probably work with me and use those scores and fill the calendar for 2019's Initial Point Gallery exhibition.
And I just realized I've forgotten to do my scoring.
Do it this weekend.
Add me. I'll get it done. So if anybody else hasn't had a chance to do that, go for it. I'm probably the only one. But
you're not alone.
Yeah, I think this is a really good idea because really, if we don't have 50 applications, then to have we like to value the commissioner's time because it is a volunteer job. And so really, if other than something that would be not deemed appropriate, that which would come out in our scoring, there's really no reason to have that special meeting. And so we can save everybody time and still have a beautiful gallery thanks to Bonnie and Hillary. And Bonnie has done this in the past to fill spots anyway, and the galleries looked beautiful every month. So why fix what's not broken, I say. So are there any?
On that note, too, I was going to say, if you guys have suggestions for artists that we should extend an invitation to or contact, you can send those to me or Bonnie so we have a plan to meet and go through potential invites.
Yes. So in your outreach to the community, if you find an artist that you think, that'd show great in the gallery, let Bonnie and Hillary know. And yeah. Cool. Is there any questions, discussion? Jessica?
I have a question. Do we have a full list of everyone who's been shown in the gallery so far?
Yes.
A historical list? Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So we can run back through and invite others that have shown really well. We also, we're continually updating that list, so we also have some people that had contacted me since the application has closed that are interested, and we also have people that said they were interested but didn't apply, so I can reach out to them and ask why they didn't apply. Yeah, so we have an ongoing, a continuous list of artists.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Jay.
I was also curious if we manage to collect any contact information from the chalk art individuals. There were a few that I think probably do additional art.
That's a good idea.
That the young lady that took home the grand prize there was, I talked with her a little bit, and she had just stopped by as she drove by and realized that they were doing chalk art and came in and actually won the thing. So I would be interested to see what else she had available, but I don't know if we collected any contact details from any of them.
We do have contact information, especially for the people that won something. I think you're talking about Seta, though.
Yes.
She actually had to move to Hawaii to go help family, but I will
Had to
contact
move to
her in case
Hawaii?
she's planning on coming back.
Poor thing.
I think she's from Hawaii originally.
Yeah,
It
she
sounded
is.
like a direct parent that.
Yeah, she's from Hawaii.
You know, another interesting thing, and you're a photographer, it might be interesting to add photography of the chalk art. Have a photographer come and take some and consider them for a showing in the gallery so that we could get more people in the community to be able to see those, because they're so beautiful. It just hurts my heart that they're, and I know that's part of the beauty. I get the rose, I get all that, but, but I think that might be something to consider, that take some beautiful photos of those and then ask the artist for permission to use that as a photo gallery. And do that for Initial Point. Let more people see that. Do you think that would be possible? I mean, I know the light is changing and everything is kind of crazy over there, but.
It's certainly possible. The challenge might be getting sign-off from the artists that created it, but
Well, the artists sign off when they
Yeah.
start the
true.
competition.
That's true. They sign a
Waiver.
release, a waiver. So anyway, just thinking. Be fun. All right.
Madam Chair, one more
yes.
question too. I
Yes,
know
of course.
I worked with Deja Brew, and they had discussed potentially pulling in pieces from all the artists that display there for a single showing in the Initial Point Gallery. And I don't know if they've been pursuing that or not. Yeah,
That's a great idea.
It would be great to have, because they have an artist in there every 2 months, I think,
Yeah.
at least one. And
Yeah, they do. So, and they've had some really pretty stuff in there. That's a great idea. So did you say you were going to contact Cecile, Hillary?
Yes, I can contact Cecile and ask her about that.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other questions or more questions or inputs on that, we do need to take the motion to allow Bonnie and Hillary to work through the scored applications and select artists to fill the gallery for the rest of the year. Ongoing selection process.
Madam Chair, I move to authorize Bonnie and Hillary to work through scored applications, selecting artists, and invite additional artists to complete the 2019 schedule as needed or ongoing, and to also incorporate the artists that Jay mentioned and the potential chalk art that Leslie spoke about.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. All right, then, we are now to, I keep losing my place in the Strategic Plan Committee report. Well, that's my committee, so that's why I lost my place. But you're presenting. Jennifer.
We began the process, but we didn't get very far because it's quite extensive. So we have created more additional meetings that are necessary in order to go through the material. Should we talk about any specifics or just leave it there?
I think right now one of our main focuses is working on this presentation we're getting ready for City Council, and that's kind of been a big focus of ours. And also, I think we should consider the policy statements, adding that to our next agenda. And but yeah, that's kind of taken our focus. And so we were able to get through some of our items, but not all. But we did come up with a regular meeting time. So we have our regular meeting time, and then we'll add meetings as we need to. So, and another thing that we did that this is just talking about the committee's structures themselves, but Gina isn't really able at this point in time to attend a lot of the meetings. So she will phone in when she can, come when she can, and we're taking some minutes that we will make available to her so that she can still have input. So think about that with your own committees. If you can't find one time for a regular meeting, still try to find a regular meeting, put it on the books, and come up with alternative ways to engage and have people be part of the process so that we can keep everything moving and not just have most of our time spent scheduling. Does that make sense? So, but yeah, we got through some of it and tabled the rest, and we have our regular meeting and we'll tackle it. So that's our
Short and sweet.
our Public Art Committee report.
Sorry, this is more so me. So I did present RFPs for the 2 park identities public art projects that we discussed for FY19. I think the last time that I talked to Mac, actually, I told you that the mayor was concerned that it might make more sense to do the 10-mile trailhead first. Steve then followed up with the mayor and confirmed back to the schedule that the committee had discussed and that the commission had originally reviewed. So the 2 parks for projects right now are Champion and Renaissance Park. I presented to the Parks Commission last night, and they did ask for an update to the RFPs. So I don't know if you guys had a chance to review my drafts from the 8th, but they have since been updated, so I will open them here. I'll open at least one to tell you what that change was. So the structure of this RFP is essentially the same as the structure for the Heroes Park Public Art Identity Project. The change that the Parks Commission suggested was this here. I'm going to unhighlight it, just so you know where it is. They had discussed how after the last presentations for Heroes Park, they were interested in seeing that something that could be proposed that might also be functional or somehow incorporated into the park that could be usable, and not just a park bench, but maybe something that's like, in Discovery Park, they're going to build like a giant Idaho, and it's going to be a climbing wall.
Oh, fun.
Or something to that effect. So one of the Parks Commissioners had mentioned that was an interest, and the rest of the commission wanted to support including that in this RFP. And then Steve and Genesis had a conversation earlier that had also come up for the Parks Commission to consider, which was that Genesis, she's been heavily involved in current MAC planning and MAPS planning, and that she would like to see your funds spent on something that's going to be really visible and that's going to be noticeable not just to parks users but also to passersby. Since this isn't a neighborhood, it could be somehow outward facing so that not just people that are using the park on a daily basis could see it, but also people that might just be driving by the park might be able to enjoy it. Yeah. There was some additional conversation as well, but these were this sentence here was the sentence that the Parks Commission wanted added to the RFP before they approved it. So as long as you guys are also okay with that addition, most of it, like I said, is the same structure. The budget is $40,000 for both projects. That's almost half of what the budget was for the Heroes Park installation, but that's a community park, and these are 2 neighborhood parks. So the park staff had told the Public Art Committee that because of the scale of the parks, it makes sense to have a smaller budget. We are doing artist stipend. That's standard. That was something that I failed to originally educate the Public Art Committee on, so we will adjust our MAPS budget accordingly. Mayor Tammy had asked that I reach out to the neighborhood associations of both of the adjacent neighborhoods surrounding these parks to invite their input. So I've reached out to both HOAs. One is the the one in Renaissance Park is the Tuscany HOA, and the one in Champion Park. So I reached out to someone there. I have not heard back from either yet, so I'll try to reach back out again. But the idea is that someone from both of those organizations could come to the site visit with the artists so that they could include their input from the get-go rather than just sitting on the scoring committee. They would be able to help advise the artists on what the identity of their park is to them, or things that their park's users would like to see or use. This also maps out a schedule down below. So if you guys approve this RFP to go before council, I will get their approval on October 16th and issue the RFP on October 17th. The idea of going before council with the RFP is just to make sure that they have a chance to hear about this project before we even solicit proposals, so that they could say, yes, we'd like to see proposals for these two sites.
So okay.
Council then also, once the scoring is complete, and we have recommendations from both commissions, they would approve also the recommendation from those commissions. Right now, the presentations we scheduled for January 9th at 3 o'clock. So we would like to have 3 of you guys serve as panelists to view those presentations and help score, if at all possible. And we have 3 parks commissioners as well that are interested.
I think that utilizing our new committee, more specific committee, might be a good idea. We have,
as long as they're available, yes, that's my thought as well.
yeah, makes it easy. So if you guys would be willing to step up and come at 3 o'clock and look at those presentations and score, that'd be great. Thank you.
I've only pulled up one RFP here, but they're essentially the same wording, just switched which park is which, and the address. And
Okay.
the site description for Renaissance Park does include the overall theme should be oriented towards the Renaissance era in some way. And then Champions Park says that the roads in the adjacent neighborhood are named after local coaches. So the overall theme should be sports oriented. We'll see what we get.
Great. I like the idea of making something artistic that has to do with sports. That's fun. And the Renaissance. Oh my gosh, yay. Okay, so are there any questions? Input? If not, then we would need to consider a motion to accept this RFP and have Hillary send it out.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the RFPs for the call to artists at Champions Park and Renaissance Park.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Good, so that's plans in motion. Let's move on then to the Events and Outreach Committee report. And presenter is blank, so Randy.
I don't think you guys have a report. We still haven't met since Art Week.
No.
And that survey that I tried to share with the public is still open as well. So if you guys haven't taken that survey, it's available here. I don't know why I didn't link it better, but you can copy and paste this link into your browser and take that survey as well.
Hillary, I did try that, and it didn't work.
Okay, I will send you the link to the survey.
Okay. Thank you,
And
Hillary.
to let you know, we have, I think, narrowed down our dates for upcoming meetings, so I think we're set through the end of the year.
Oh, good. All right, so moving on then to old business. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, committees. Thank you, Hillary. We have the FY19 budget and project code consideration.
Hold on.
Hillary.
Sorry. You guys had asked me to follow up with finance to make sure that the project codes wouldn't affect your actual budget, that you wouldn't have to modify your budget to reflect those project codes, and essentially I left it as proposed budget line items. Oh, it's still funny. Essentially, they said no, it's just used to track expenses.
Oh my gosh.
So you can, we can assign as many project codes as you would like to track whatever you would like. And that includes, I think, even if you had a one-off project, so say that, I mean, I know the majority of your visual arts expenses are for awards, but you could narrow it down to, you know, IPG versus West Ada School District awards. You could narrow down performing arts to those individual concerts on Broadway, Treasure Valley Children's Theater, those types of things. So I would still kind of suggest you do it more broadly, but you could make it as narrow as you like. If you have something that you want to break down in the future, it sounds pretty easy to request a project code. I essentially email one person in the finance department, and she can assign the project code from there. And then if we need to recode anything, that might be more work. So as long as we know before we start having expenses, it's really easy to do.
And I think, too, since this is new to us, starting, you know, small bites are always better than large. Best way to eat the elephant, little bites. So I think that starting out with this new format with these bullets as coded is one way. And then if we find that we would like to get more specific after, then we could change the proposed budget line items to to not be so proposed. I propose that we do that. Sorry, but I digress. That's hilarious. So, but I do think that it's easier to start small, and then if we think that we need more specific line items, to go from there. So.
I will request the project codes from finance.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
So I don't think we clarified this before, but I know you said we could do multiple categories. Do you know if we can actually do subcategories under each of those? So if we wanted to put an initial point gallery under the visual arts or something like that, if we wanted to narrow down to see where our dollars are all going, because a lot of these categories are great for like matching up to the strategic plan, but then each of the items that might be under, I don't want to, like you said, you don't want to get too involved, but I'm thinking at some point that might be a good idea to be able to watch where our budget is filtering and kind of plan for future. To
We'll
be
ask
able
if
to.
we can go down a step further. I think the way that we're kind of utilizing project codes is how other departments would utilize their general budget line. Mm-hmm. So we're pretending like our project codes are budget line items. So where, you know, the clerk's office would have office expenses, then they could break down into other project codes office expenses. I'll ask how deep we can go and see if we could do an additional thing. If not, we could just, instead of doing visual arts, we could just do gallery and West Ada School District awards. It's easier to track, at least if it's broken down into visual arts. It's easy to see, you know, it's ultimately like maybe 10 expenses throughout the year.
Okay.
So it's easier to filter through and find where those costs are.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Stephanie. So, are there any other questions, concerns regarding this? Yes, Jennifer.
The traffic box art, couldn't we just umbrella that under utilitarian art or city art, or I don't know. It seems like it's the one specific.
Yeah, that one is, we could change the word for it, but there's nothing else that we would use that money for, because the traffic box art funds comes from your MAPS funds. Gotcha. And when MAPS funds are requested, we request $5,000 annually, specifically for traffic box art, and then the rest of it goes towards other public art projects. But there's nothing to say, as I'm thinking of the rest of the plan that the Public Art Committee had brought to you guys, they had mentioned, I think it was a year or two from now, doing like a downtown project. Maybe we somehow generalize that traffic box art into non-capital public art. That sounds really boring, but that would be kind of what, that would be the gist of what that expense is. It's smaller, non-capitalized public art versus a large installation that has to be capitalized.
Right. So non-capital art, and so that kind of tracks with what Stephanie's comments were about possibly having some subcategories built in, because that would make utilitarian art or non-capital project art the main bullet, and then a subcode would be traffic box art. And that would be our only subcode for now, so that would seem a little bit weird, but it would allow for developing. So that's one case where that would make sense. But right now, it would be redundant, because we only have one thing that we're
Yeah, for this year,
doing it
this
for,
year
yeah.
we've only approved traffic box art.
Yeah.
I think those project codes would have to be reassigned. I
Yeah.
think they have to be re-updated per fiscal year.
Okay.
Check on that.
And I think those are all good points for discussion. Does anyone feel compelled to not take a motion on this today and reconsider anything, or should we make the start here and then make changes as we see that it's not working the way that we want it to? That makes sense? Cricket. Yeah. So I think that because I think that was a good a good example of how in the future we may have the subcategories. But I think for right now, since traffic box art is the only thing we would have under utilitarian art or the other larger designation, I'm comfortable starting here and having Hillary research further into the coding if there is a way to subcode. But I also, I tend to think too that if we get too detailed, it gives us a little bit less flexibility. Right now we're pretty, we don't need a lot of flexibility. We pretty much know where our money's being spent. But as we grow, and things are growing so quickly right now, we might want to keep, a little bit bigger picture as opposed to a micromanagement of our budget items. But I think this is a great place to start. But we can think of that as a start. And then as we learn more about the coding and how it works for what we're doing, we can expand from there. Any comments, questions, or queries?
Would you guys like me to work with finance and maybe get some insight from them on what our actual project codes would be, what makes the most sense also from finance's point of view, and then come to you guys with suggested
Yes.
project codes? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I will do that.
Okay.
We won't
So we'll
worry
do
about
that, and then
them.
we'll have that on a future agenda once you've had time to compile that. Fantastic. All right. So we are to the administrative report.
I think it's brief, if I remember correctly. I was mainly looking for your guys's your reoccurring committee times, and pointed out pointed out when the next gallery installation is going to be. Jay hosted our last gallery reception with the Watercolor Society. Do you want to talk to that really quickly?
Certainly. It was a great reception. If you haven't been up there, it's pretty incredible. It's a lot of fantastic work. It was crowded for about the first hour. I think we had 50 people, and most of them were there that was including the artists, but it was pretty packed for the first hour, and then everyone kind of started filtering out. But it was really, really neat. Got to meet a lot of terrific artists and wonderful works up there. There was, I think, large amount of support from the artists' close community, but there was also a lot of individuals that came in and were asking questions about the Watercolor Society itself and how they might be able to get involved in the process. So that was really neat to see.
Yeah, love it. Thank you.
The next exhibit going in is Jessica Tukey. Betty Hazlett is currently the 3D artist up there, and we're going to leave her up there for the next month as well. 3D artists are something that we always struggle to find in place in the gallery, so particularly if you guys can think of 3D artists that you really enjoy and love, send those, at least their names, over to me, and then I can try to research ways to contact them if you don't have their contact information or website or something. Potentially that's something that I'd like to talk to Bonnie about as well. If we could do more double 3D exhibits. It doesn't take Betty very much time to set up, and it takes her even less time to take down. And I don't know how many people are coming up there specifically for the 3D art. So if we had a couple of shows throughout 2019 that had the 3D artist show for 2 months, that might be a positive. And I can talk to some of the artists as well that we are inviting to see if that's worthwhile for them. It seems like it takes them longer to get here than it takes them to set up their artwork. So I want it to be time well spent for them. Jessica Tukey's coming in with an all auto and mechanics driven show. I think she originally had proposed to do all paintings, and now she's going to incorporate some photographs as well with those paintings. So it'll be interesting to see 2 different mediums from one artist and her reception. And Jessica, you're signed up for that one. The Strategic Plan Committee did briefly talk about Concerts on Broadway 2019, and Autumn Kersey from the Children's Theater had given Colin and I Carly May's contact info, and she is the coordinator for Alive After 5 with the Downtown Boise Association. So we were going to meet with her after seeing some of the comments from limited comments from the survey. It might make more sense to kind of keep these 2 things separate, keep doing our concerts the way we want to do them, and let parks explore the concept of a weekly reoccurring show, possibly at Generations Plaza or somewhere closer to that downtown core. Anyway, we're going to get some insight from Carly May, and then I'll probably follow up back with the Strategic Plan Committee so they are kept in the loop. I listed the Strategic Planning Committee meetings here because I had them, but I will just briefly say the other 2 that I know. The Public Art Committee is going to meet November 15th and December 6th. So if you guys are interested in keeping in the loop with what those other committees are doing, keep an eye out for their agendas. And those are posted in the same place that all of ours are posted. So if you went to the city website, this is the main website, you click on meeting minutes and agendas, and then you can either scroll down or click Meridian Arts Commission meeting. All of our committee meetings and commission meetings are published here, so you can look them up whenever you want. Minutes should also be added there, so if you're looking for minutes and you don't find them, let me know and I can make sure that they're added. And that's me. It sounds like most of you guys have your committee meetings planned through the rest of the year, so that's great. That'll be awesome.
Yay!
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Thank you, Hillary. Are there any questions? Compliments like, good job, all the committees getting their schedules done? Good job. Then we would be to the reports, the admin report, the approval of the monthly expenses action item. We need to approve this.
Yes. So I wanted to pull up OpenGov again. So here's our summary page and our final expenses. There are going to be some additional expenses that aren't shown here on the summary page. One of them that just came through that was a heavier one is the $1,000 for the radio ads for Art Week. There might be a couple others that just were paid with maybe a MasterCard and haven't been paid through their statement yet. Yeah, so you came out fairly close to what your approved budget was from council. And then here are your monthly expenses for September. Booklets from Modern Printers. I think it was 3 traffic box art artist stipends. Samuel Rodaba's artist stipend for performing for Art Week, and then the installation of those 3 traffic boxes.
Okay. If there's not any questions or anything to be brought out for clarification, we would consider a motion on the approval of monthly expenses.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the monthly expenses for this point in time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, our next meeting is Thursday, November 8th at 3:30, and we are to the movement to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. That was a big, agenda. I mean, we got through before 5.
Got through pretty quick.
Really happy with the presentation, and thank you, Hillary.